All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here with you all. We have Mel Doerr joining us tonight. Always a fun time. How are you doing, Mel?
I'm hanging in there. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing good.
Kevin was just giving me a counseling session before we started. He's
Oh,
a good counselor, you all, so give him a
thank
call.
you. Yeah, I think sometimes it's I mean, obviously, I feel like right now the energy, the universal energy, is a little weird and definitely like a shift in the energy, which I think is great for like that manifesting creative energy. But it all kind of depends too. I think a little bit in the energy that you're sitting in. I think it can really easily bring you down or be a little bit overwhelming. Um, but trying to just uplift it and tap into that creative manifesting energy, I think is going to be really powerful for a lot of people this month.
Good.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we start, everyone, please do me a favor. Please hit that thumbs up. It really helps the channel and helps get this video out there on YouTube. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to Mel's channel and my channel if you haven't already. We would greatly appreciate that.
Subscribe, thumbs up, and join, by the way.
Y- yes. I just stopped my membership. I know Mel has a membership, so if that's something you're interested, join. But I have a lot of really fun, creative brainstorming ideas that I want to do for the channel, and a lot more collaborations coming up in March that I'm really excited to announce. Linda G is going to be on next week. Just a lot of fun stuff in the works. So focusing my attention and energy in that for right now.
It's always fun to be
Uh,
on the G.
yes, it's always great. So I was just telling Mel, and I didn't tell him what I was picking up, but I was doing a bit of a meditation Reiki session today, and just wanting to tap in a little bit into this. Everybody's feeling like this March energy is going to be so huge, um, and like I said, I've already kind of felt a shift, and I've been talking about it for a while. But just some of the messages that were coming through today, I wanted to share before we start getting into everybody's questions. Um, The energy, I think, towards the end of March feels kind of like a tower moment, like dismantling structures that no longer serve us and it kind of coming crumbling to the ground a little bit. But with that also comes that opportunity to rebuild, to start over and to build um, from a strong, solid foundation. It's like I think it's a bit of a wake up call moment, is what I'm kind of feeling like the third week of March. And with that too, I got a vision of like a volcano erupting, and I felt like it may be figurative, but also symbolic as well. For some reason, I was kind of getting drawn to South America. I think that could also represent some active Earth activity as well. But when I was tapping into this volcano, it almost felt like um, I was getting this message of it awakening from slumber, from sleep. Um, And so it feels like we're getting to a point where just like the pressure is kind of building, and it's that wake up moment, like I was saying, that tower moment where the it finally kind of overflows, erupts, explodes, kind of. And I feel like that's really kind of going on worldwide, but more specifically in Ukraine with Russia, but also here in the U.S. I think a lot of stuff's going to come out. Like I said, I've been feeling indictments and a lot of stuff coming out with the Republican Party. But also, too, I kind of feel like Putin's going to get his last hurrah in and really kind of take things a little bit too far. Not nuclear, but um, it feels like there's one more big hurdle before things start to slow down a little bit. Are you picking up anything from that, Mel?
Well, I understand that when you say Putin in Ukraine, the winter's really bad, and the Russian soldiers, they say they're dying in large groups, and they're pleading for Putin for
Mm.
help. And Putin is now getting boys, students, to try to send them to the front lines. So,
Oh.
he's continuing to crack down on dissent. So, as you were talking, and those were some great points, Kevin. Thank you for sharing those.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I always like to hear what other psychics have to say.
Yeah.
But, you know, um, I think there's going to be a lot of indictments coming down. in March,
Mm, yeah.
um, with some people that that we know quite well.
Mm, yeah.
So I think it is people, the month for people being held responsible,
Mm,
and that goes into April. So I think we're finally going to start to see indictments. Now, will the people being indicted fight it? Of course, but
yeah.
at least it'll show a lot of progress in the
Okay.
investigations and things like that.
Yeah.
Uh, Volcano, I didn't really pick up on, but when you were talking, I wrote West Indies, Caribbean, and I put
That's what I
Montserrat.
was kind of feeling.
So it could be Montserrat. Um, I think I forget where that is, but I can't think of the name of the island.
Mm.
Anyway, um,
Yeah,
but
the energy just felt very kind of like tower, kind of like a bit of destruction, and I think that that volcano kind of symbolizes that too, like enough pressure kind of finally being forced in, and there then comes the explosion with it.
my psychic light bulb just went off, and it would be like exploding of the truth,
Mm,
the
yeah.
explosion of all these things that have been under the surface coming to the surface, uh,
Okay.
and the truth will start flowing like lava from a volcano,
Yeah.
uh, and it'll show the toxicity of the things that some of these political people did. I mean, there's a lot hidden that we don't know about, but it will start coming forward in March.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm getting goosebumps as you say that too. Like that explosion is like these things starting to come to the surface. We're starting to actually see them and seeing some kind of results and accountability. Um, I was getting a message too. I saw like military jets. They were flying over a mountain range, and it felt like assistance and aid to Ukraine. I don't know if this is some kind of NATO response or some kind of help because, like I said, I don't have the best feeling with Putin trying to kind of do like one really nasty thing again, like that one last hurrah. Um, like I said, I don't feel like it's something nuclear, but I feel like some aid. It could be those jets coming in, which me and you both have been seeing for a while, but just like aid and help and assistance is what I was feeling with that.
Well, I think behind the scenes, China's going to be helping Putin. But
Mm, yeah.
if we find that out, then we're going to sanction China. But what I picked up when you said jets over a mountain range, my psychic light bulb went on, and I'm
Hmm.
thinking that I see Ukraine finally getting some fighter airplanes.
Okay.
Uh,
That's what I was kind of feeling with that
you
too.
know, Putin's going to try an air war over Ukraine as well with airplanes, but I don't think Putin's got that many planes, and he can't afford to have them shot down. And that's
Mm,
exactly what the Ukrainians will do. So,
yeah. And my last message that I was getting, I was seeing a beautiful bald eagle, like just flying and soaring, and with the message like democracy prevails. Um, so, like I said, it feels pretty energetically crazy for the whole planet, but um, the U.S. it feels very significant, and our democracy actually, um, prevailing. Um, where a lot of us have had kind of some doubts with the timing, I think, of the accountability for some people, um, and also I think a lot of maybe some Earth activity and Ukraine and Russia is what I was picking in the really heavy energy for March.
well, the eagle is the direction of the east, and it's about
Mm,
wisdom to use the knowledge that we have instead of misusing it. So I think it's
okay.
about being responsible uh, and use the knowledge that we have and the wisdom to use that knowledge in a responsible way. Um, Eagle also opens the door for ancestral spirits because that's the direction of the east. And you know, eagle, it nests up high, but it has to come down to the planet to the ground to eat, and then it goes
Mm,
back up. So I think it's about balance. It's about
okay.
the highs and the lows. But eagle's fierce predator, and I think that a lot of our ideas at least the majority of us here, we're going to start speaking up more and more, and we will be heard. That's
Mm,
what I pick up with
love
that.
that.
Eagle
I
has
love
an
that.
eye, but we have to keep our eyes open and not
Mm.
take things as they appear. And I think the volcano is looking underneath to see what's going on.
Yeah, like pushing out that truth.
Correct. Eagle has keen vision, and so
Mm.
I think it's
So
about
and maybe even a heightened perception and
correct.
intuition for a lot of us. And I've been hearing from a lot of clients and subscribers about, people's intuitions really waking up the last couple years, but even more specifically the last couple months too.
That's yeah, I think, it's just the air seems more intuitive, if you will.
Mm. All right. So I just wanted to share some of those messages. I know somebody sent a message already, a question about March. So I was kind of wanting to focus in on that a little bit
I
earlier
think you
today.
answered it very well.
All right, you guys. So we have a couple questions starred, but if you'd like to submit a question, go ahead and write it in the chat, all caps. Couple heart emojis if you can, and me and Mel will get to as many questions as possible. All right. Colleen asked a question, and she says it's been discovered that China was meddling um, in the Canada elections, and that Prime Minister Trudeau knew about it and did nothing, as it was helping his party. Do you see consequences?
Well, my guides tell me China did try to meddle, and even if Trudeau knew about it, I don't think the meddling was enough to put him as a winner. Uh,
Mm,
and so it almost sounds like this is a theory coming from the ultra Canadian right, almost like Trump did. Oh, the election was phony. Biden didn't win. It was fake. I think it's the same kind of rhetoric that's
mm,
going on now in Canada. Do I think China did interfere? They tried, but
yeah,
the news is they also tried to interfere here, and it didn't get them anywhere.
absolutely.
So
What I'm not feeling like any legal consequences, but I do feel like there is a lot of scrutiny, and there's going to be a lot of press on this, and I feel like it there's some pressure for Trudeau. I think a little bit is what I'm picking up, but
well, I
um,
think in Canada, before like three or four, or is it France? I think
mhm,
it's France. 3 or 4 days before an election, they have a media blackout so that nobody can interfere.
mm,
Yeah, that's in France. But um, I don't think Trudeau was complicit in anything. I'm not picking.
right, right.
I mean, my guys tell me he won fair and square.
Hmm. I agree with that. But you know how the press can be too. They like to push an issue, and they like the scandal, and they like the story, and I do feel like it. Um, there's some pressure with that, but I'm not feeling like any legal consequences. And I agree with you, Mel. I feel like Trudeau won fairly. With that, it wasn't a huge influence in their elections.
It's kind of the Canadian version of Trump's big lie here.
Yeah.
Trudeau didn't really win, blah blah blah. You know. Um, Now that misinformation, I think, might be coming from Moscow.
Oh, interesting.
That's what I just picked up.
Mm. And it's so interesting if that were the case too, because me and you both have kind of said that Russia's really hoping that China will help them out. And I feel like there are some talks backstage, but I also feel like China's really scared to get involved because their economy's not doing well. They know that they'll get sanctions, and a lot of the Western um, countries, those trade agreements are there's going to be issues with those if they help out um,
You have to
Putin
remember
in,
that
in the war.
Putin is former KGB, and they
Hmm.
specialize in misinformation. So,
Yeah.
and I understand from people who have family members in Russia that Putin is becoming more and more and more isolated to
Yeah.
himself, just like
Mhm.
Stalin did. And so
I
that
feel very paranoid too of,
Right.
like getting poisoned, I think. Probably having people test his water and his drink and food before he eats it.
Oh, I'm sure he does that, you know?
Yeah,
My guides say, "Yes, yes, yes."
yeah,
Um, but that you're right, it shows how paranoid he is by, the
yeah.
self-isolation. Stalin only interacted with maybe one person. It was, I think, his the chambermaid, and he
Okay.
ended up having an affair with her. But Stalin every day would get a list of names, and if he put a little asterisk by it, that was a person who was going to die.
Mm.
And so I think Putin's got his hit list as well,
Well, absolutely. I don't think all these people just are jumping out windows.
especially first floor windows.
Right.
Um, I just my psychic light bulb went on again, and I see a lot of Russian people starting to stand up against Putin. There was one woman, I think, that she was with Navalny, and she went to trial today, and she was giving the symbol of the heart, like that,
Mm.
kind of like that, I think. And they want to sentence her to 18 years. But what Putin doesn't realize, he thinks he's making an example of these people, but he's really making them martyrs. And
Yeah,
a lot of people are going to start protesting in Russia. My guides keep showing me that.
I see that too.
So,
It's like it's almost like revolution energy and just kind of tired of all the corruption and all the propaganda and all of that. Somebody was saying Reinhold said 80% of Russians support Putin. I don't believe that
I don't think
at
so.
all.
Not according to the Russian people that I know here in Chicago. Uh,
Mm. I think a lot of people are scared. So if you ask them for their own safety, they're going to say, "Oh yes, we support Putin." But do they actually really support Putin? No, they're afraid. I wouldn't even. I don't even feel 50%
well,
of
behind the scenes, a
Russians
lot of the
support him.
people living there are afraid, and a lot of
Hmm.
parents are hopping mad because of their kids, their young boys having to go fight. Um,
Yeah,
there was a soldier on, I think I saw it on Reuters, and he was asking Putin for help, and he was like, "Long live Russia." But what's he going to say? He kind of has to say that because
mm,
and I just heard something. I think it was last week, where with some of these people that Putin was putting criminals on the front line, and if they
yeah.
lost, he would kill them. I mean, I'm sorry,
We
yeah,
talked
if they
about
lost
this.
and survived, he would kill them. If they won, he would still kind of do away with them. It was like, so it's a no-win situation.
Mm. And I was picking up. We talked about this, I think, last week on your show briefly, and I was feeling like a lot of the prisoners, running away or escaping. I mean, what do they have to lose at that point? They're dead one way or another. So if it
Exactly.
were you, I would take my chances with trying to flee.
I think a lot of them are going to join Ukrainian soldiers,
Mm,
but I think a lot
yeah,
of a lot of them would like to do that, but they're fearful for their families. What's Putin going to do to their
yeah,
families?
that's very true. All right.
I mean, the people here, these politicians here that want to support Putin, I'm like, well, go live with them. And
Right.
some of those ultra right wing Christian nationalists talk about democracy, but yet they want to support Putin. And it's like, but wait a minute,
Mm,
you're telling me about democracy, but you're supporting an autocrat. You're supporting a dictator. I mean,
yeah.
what part of that aren't they getting?
I think it's just because things are so divisive, um, that they would rather support Putin than a Democrat. And that's just how polarized we are right now. It's very, very kind of sad and disgusting.
Well, Gary and I were having dinner with our friends Rosaire and Jim last Friday or last Saturday, I think. No, last Friday night. And
Mm,
I don't know, I brought up something political. We're talking about my YouTube channel, and I brought up something political. And Rosaire's husband Jim said, "Well, now that you've brought it up," um, and he said something that made so much sense to me. He said, "A lot of these politicians don't give one hoot about abortion. They don't give one
hmm.
hoot about the whole thing in Ukraine. They don't give one hoot about, that they're saying that they're anti-LGBTQ. They're just pandering
Yeah.
to their constituent. They're pandering to people in order to stay elected. And I
Yeah.
looked at him and I said, "You know what, Jim? You're absolutely right."
Mhm. I mean, I'm sure that there's many Republicans in government right now that have had affairs and paid their mistresses to have an abortion.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah, there's been many. So,
And they don't give one hoot about the abortion issue. They just want
mhm,
to pander to the ultra right Christian nationalists because they know that those people will vote for them no matter what, and they
mm,
can stay in office.
yeah.
So
This is kind of similar to what we're talking about now, so I'm just gonna bring it up. She's like, "There's someone or something behind a coordinated effort from Republicans to divide blacks and whites. Who or what is orchestrating and manipulating this hate from Florida to the Midwest?" Well, kind of like what we were just talking about, um, we have this white nationalist group that are threatened because America is so diverse, and they very well fear they're going to become a minority in the next 10, 20 years from our diversity. So there's that deep hate and divisiveness there, and then you have people like Trump and a lot of these Republican leaders that are pandering to them, fueling that hate. And yeah, it gets to a point where it's just super explosive. I don't know if there's one person specifically that's orchestrating something, if that's what the question is, but it's just very, very divisive, and a lot of fuel being spilled on that hate is what I'm feeling with that. What are you feeling, Mel?
I'm picking up that I think it's almost like groups like the ultra right wing groups that are behind some of these MAGA Trumplicans like MTG, a lot of Marjorie Taylor Greene, Boebert, and all of that. Um,
Mhm.
and what they're doing is they play on people's xenophobia. They
Mm,
play on people's fear. And so, and with a small group of people like the ultra right wing Trump Christian nationalists, they're going to gain momentum. But I think the other
mm,
thing is they want it to be explosive. They want to create chaos. Those they
yeah.
can say, you see how chaotic things are. They want the anarchy because it weakens us. But
Hmm.
but the most of us are saying, wait a minute, you know, as no matter the color of our skin, we're all equal
Mm,
and we stand
yeah.
united. We will not let you or anybody else divide us. We won't do that because united we stand, divided we fall. And
Mm,
I think it's that small group inflaming,
hmm.
trying to inflame people, and they're not going to win. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think,
and we are in much larger numbers than they are. They're just very loud and vocal, and their ugliness, you know.
well, it shows the hate and the bigotry and
Mhm.
the prejudice and discrimination that they really have. you know,
Yeah.
but they're making it look like the Marjorie Taylor Greene's like the white people that are discriminated against. Wrong.
Mm.
You know
Right,
what I mean?
right.
You've got the emphasis on the wrong syllable there, girl.
Mhm. Right, right.
Um, you know, um, they talk about more freedom, but yet they're the ones wanting to take it away. And separate but equal does not work. It doesn't work, and that's what they
Mhm.
want. But I think you're right. They're fearful that maybe in 20 to 30 years that whites won't be in the majority. But who
Mhm.
cares? Who cares if they are or not?
Right, right.
America. And so,
But they wanna cling on to that power, and, they're gonna do whatever they can, and that hatred and bigotry is really just being spewed. And like I was saying too, it's like you have people that feel that make it okay to say racist things, um, and then it emboldens people, and people that have maybe had, racial thoughts and everything. It makes it okay for them to start talking about it, and so it kind of fuels and turns into something so ugly.
well, they're picking on LGBTQ people now, like
Mhm.
transgendered people. And now in Tennessee, they want to make it a law if somebody has a drag show that it's a felony. Give me a break. So,
Right.
here again, they're creating the chaos. They don't give one hoot about all that stuff. They just want to pander to the ultra right, so they
Hmm.
can create all this dissension, and they think that'll make them win, but it won't. It
It
will not.
won't.
Um, you know, I think what we have the starts of with the ultra right wing Christian nationalist is an American apartheid. It really is.
Mm,
And like the other apartheid, it will ultimately end.
yeah.
And so
I I see all of these people. Um, I mean, I think that it's always going to be there for some people.
it will
Um,
be.
but I feel like just gonna get into a place where that is not okay anymore. Um, and a lot of these people kind of like go back and into like the caves, into hiding is what I'm kind of feeling like that.
Well, my guides keep showing me the light coming on the cockroaches are trying to hide, but once they're in the light,
Mm,
they have a hard place hiding.
right, right.
But uh, you know, I do think there's dark money, Bad Kitty,
I do too.
going to orchestrate a lot of this stuff with the Satan and all of that. Uh,
Mm,
but that'll be uncovered as well.
yeah, I'm feeling more towards the end of the year, like fall time. Another big kind of scandal with a lot of like the dark money. And sorry to say too, it's not just Republicans taking dark money. I do feel some Democrats
It's
getting
all over.
exposed
It's not just
too. Yeah,
Republicans, it's Democrats
yeah,
too, it's independents. But, I
yeah.
think what'll happen is with some of these politicians trying to make us divisive, that will pull us closer together.
Mm,
Regardless
yeah.
of our skin color, it'll pull us closer together because it just makes those of us who are inclusive more angry, and it makes us want to stand up and fight. And
Yeah.
that's where, you know, the that some Republicans trying to divide us, it's gonna make us stand up and fight more, so they won't win.
Mm, yeah. And like I've said for a long time, I actually see all of this hatred and craziness um actually dividing their party because they can't win with that being on their ticket. So it's definitely like that karma coming back and biting them. And then they're kind of to dismantle and to reorganize.
You said that all along,
Hmm.
and I think it's proof you're I think
We've been starting to see it for a while, but I mean, buckle up. It's going to get worse
it's gonna be a
throughout this
wild
year.
ride. I
Yeah,
wanna
for sure.
I wanna put a ticket stand up outside the, House of Representatives and sell tickets to the circus going on there.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, it's not funny, but it's actually pretty kind of sad. But yeah, it's going to get crazy throughout this year. And then they're all just going to turn on each other, and um, it, it it's going to be a show for sure. I just saw before we went live that Alec Murdoch was found guilty on all counts, and I had talked about that and felt that was going to be the case. But just
well,
wanted
my
to post
comment
that.
on that one was I was comfortable that justice would be done,
Yes,
and I'm comfortable that justice will be done with the sentencing. And
yeah,
so
I agree with that, Mo. You kind of alluded to your thoughts without actually saying them.
I just don't like to go public and say anything until the conviction comes in.
Hmm. Right,
There's a way to say it.
right, right. And I didn't say it yet, but somebody can put it in the chat. These videos are for entertainment purposes only. So,
Yes, thank you.
all right, let's see. This is kind of interesting. Maureen says, "Hi, Kevin and Mel. Do you have any thoughts on what's been killing all the whales washing up on the Jersey Shore?" When I started this question, I kind of felt like a frequency or energy wave is what I was kind of picking up with that. Maybe getting them off course, or I don't know, some kind of sound frequency wave is what I'm feeling with that.
My guides are telling me it's the toxins they put in the oceans.
Mm,
Cruise ships used to empty their garbage out in the middle of the ocean, and there's so many toxins that are being poured into our oceans.
yeah,
It's like, whoa. It was funny in Hawaii. Well, it wasn't funny, but in Hawaii during the pandemic, there were no cruise ships and no boats, and the coral reefs started coming back, and the fish started coming back. And so, people like to take their cruises, but what I do see is legislation being passed um, in a lot of different countries that will limit or put a lot of regulations on cruise ships about they have to empty their garbage in port. They can't
yeah,
empty their bilges at sea, that they have to be environmentally friendly. And I see a lot of legislation coming with that.
mm.
So,
Yeah, and that's what makes it hard though too, because it's not like something that we, the U.S., can solely do. It takes all of these countries to come together and really cleaning up our act. But I agree with you, Mel, and I see a lot of research and development into cleaning up the waters, the oceans, and getting them cleaned up.
my
It's going to take a little while, but
I'm sorry.
so I feel like it's going to take a while. I don't feel like it's going to happen this year or next, but I think like 5 to 10 years.
You know, um, my psychic, I'm taking notes here on the side. That's why I'm looking.
Yeah,
Um, my psychic light bulb went on again. It's really
yeah,
going up a lot tonight. That I call it the flash bulb.
the Flash.
I think, I also think it has to do with the warming of the oceans and ocean
Mm,
currents. And I also think that because the glaciers are melting and those are freshwater, I think it's in a way desalinization of
mm,
the oceans. And so, when those glaciers melt, that's
mm,
fresh water, and it
yeah,
gets into the ocean, and it reduces the salt volume.
mm,
And I think that certain mammals that live in the ocean need a certain level of salt to survive in the water. And
yeah.
so I think that's a part of the puzzle right there.
All right. I just want to say thank you for Catherine sent a super chat. She says, "Love you both. Both your energies are full of love and light. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Blessings, my friend." All right. Let's see. Okay. So we kind of talked about this. This is the March question that I was talking about earlier before I shared my insight. Um, but Kathy says, "Hello, Auntie. Aloha, Mel, and the very handsome Kevin. My question is psychics are predicting a lot of energy in the month of March. Do you see indictments coming, an end of the war in Ukraine?" Well, we feel indictments coming
And
soon, or I do anyway.
and,
We've
uh,
been talking about it.
and we in the war of Ukraine, I don't see it ending anytime soon,
Mhm.
but,
Yeah.
I see a lot of people protesting in the streets against Putin, and
Mm,
I ultimately see Putin gone. Putin's gonna realize that it's gonna be to Russia what Afghanistan was to Russia, and they finally left Afghanistan because they couldn't win. It's almost like the Russian Vietnam,
yeah.
and Ukraine will not stop fighting. They just won't.
I feel like I agree with you, Mel. I don't feel like the war's ending right now. Oh, Linda G, thank you so
Hey,
much.
Linda. Yo,
Linda stopped in. Linda's going to be on next Friday. So thank you so much, Linda. That's very sweet of you.
Linda G. Hey, sweetie. She is one of the absolute best psychics I've ever met. So are
Yes,
you.
she
So are you,
is.
woman. So are you.
Oh, thank you, Mel. Yes, I was watching Linda's show earlier tonight. It was a very good show. But I'm excited to have Linda on. It's always fun when Linda's in the house.
You know why it was a good show, don't you? Because Linda was on.
Why?
Because Linda was
Right? Yes.
Linda
And
was
Linda's just so entertaining. Besides all the great information that she's picking up intuitively, just so entertaining and so funny to watch. I think that's why we all love watching her.
I love her sense of humor. The two of us
Yeah.
together are dangerous, but
Yes. I forgot what the question was. Thank you so much, Linda. Um, oh, about like the end of the war in Ukraine. I feel like you do. I feel like it's going to linger on a little bit, but it almost feels like that one like last hurrah. Like I do feel like there is some escalation in March, and then I feel like things kind of start to settle down with it. And something big coming up with Putin too is what I'm feeling with the March energy. So, all right. Carrie T wants to know, will Disney have any pushback against a Satan?
Yes, yes, and yes.
Yeah.
um, you know, Disney has a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not going to support DeSatan in the election. I can tell you that right now. They're going to throw the money toward his opponent, and
Mm-hmm.
um, DeSatan will be gone, and they're gonna, he's at some point going to be one sorry dude that he tried to screw over Disney, because you don't mess with Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, and when you think of Florida too, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Disney, the happiest place on earth too. Disney brings Florida so much revenue in tourism. So, messing with them really isn't smart. I feel like there is some kind of agreement that's made between the two of them, and like Disney's going to be okay in it. I think it's just a lot of theatrics on the Satan's part, you know, um going against these big companies and um these woke companies, as I like to say. It's just all part of the Republicans crap that they're spewing, but I don't see it favoring him in the end. I see Disney
You
being
just said
okay.
something. with
Yeah,
to Satan, it's all about the theatrics. He doesn't care about his
yeah,
constituents. It's all about the dog and pony show. If
mhm,
he if he thought that he could get attention by telling people to stand on the corner, on their head in the corner and spit BBs, he'd do it.
mm,
It's all about the theatrics, like
yeah.
banning books and don't wear a mask during COVID, and oh my God, all the craziness. You know,
Well, and he's definitely taken a play out of Trump's playbook with the theatrics. I mean, he acts just like Trump. I think that DeSatan's a little bit more dangerous than Trump because I think he's a lot smarter. Um, but yes, kind of the same mentality. But he definitely plays into it to
well,
get people upset and get them riled up, energized.
Mr. Anti-vaxxer, but yet he was the first in line to get his vaccine.
Right, right. Thank you so much, Jay Roberts. Blessings, my friend. Very sweet of you. All right. Yeah, I don't see that working out for DeSantis. I feel like Disney's going to be okay. Kathy says hello to the fabulous Auntie Mel and the dynamic Kevin Chandler. My question is about the recent storms we had in California. Do you see this ending the drought in the West? What do you think, Mel?
You've got more storms coming, and
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately more flooding coming. Um, I do think it'll end the drought, but unfortunately, with the record amounts of rainfall you're going to have, maybe that's good to fill the reservoirs, but still I see a lot more flooding out west in
Mm.
California.
I feel like it's a start to ending the drought. I feel like it's still a couple of year process. I don't think that these storms that they've had right now is enough to
Mm,
refill everything that they've
no,
lost.
it's
But
not.
it is putting things in a better path. It's just a shame that there's so much destruction with the flooding, but that's what
I'm
I'm
paying
feeling.
attention. I'm listening to you. I'm looking at the comments. I'm reading the
It's
comments.
okay. I get it, Mel. Um,
Well, when you do this, you have to be like multitasking, because we're
uh-huh.
answering questions, we're starring the questions, we're reading the comments.
You're juggling a lot for sure. Uh, Angeline says, "Hello, Kevin and Mel. When is the federal government going to stop giving these red states funding for things that they stand against, such as helping poor, affordable health care, etc.? I don't see the federal government cutting off the red states.
Oh, they're not going to, because
No.
that would just really divide them more.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, if the government wants to help those states, especially the poor states, they should give them more money uh,
Right.
and that might help those states turn purple.
Mm. Yeah,
Everybody.
and Biden's not that kind of way too. He's not going to punish states because they're more red-leaning and hurting people that need that kind of help. He's not that kind of person.
Only Donald Trump would do something like that, or
Right.
DeSantis.
Exactly.
You know,
I mean, look what they were doing with the COVID testing and the COVID funds when the pandemic was happening. Um, not giving them to blue states and messing with their vaccines and all of that.
um, I think, it's funny that a lot of the red states, many of the people seem to be conservative, but
Mm,
yet they they like some of the ultra right wing Republicans, but some of those ultra right wing Republicans want to take away Medicare, Social Security, all of those programs that help
mhm.
those people, especially the elderly.
Yeah.
So, the hypocrisy of that gets me crazy. But I want to tell you something. If the Republicans start messing with Obamacare again and messing with Social Security and Medicare, and a lot of those red states are going to be like, nope, not going to do
Mhm.
that.
Right.
And that could be enough to make
That's
them
their
turn
base.
purple. I
That's
mean,
their base that they're hurting if they get rid of Social Security. It's mostly older white people that vote Republican. Not to say that, to generalize it, but it's a huge part of their base, and you're gonna take away their Social Security and their ability to live. You think they're gonna still vote for you?
not. I
You
think
don't mess with people's money.
this last election was uh it was totally not a red wave. It wasn't even a pink
Absolutely.
trickle. And that should send a message to the Republicans like, wait a minute, we've got to change our rhetoric because otherwise,
Mm,
look what just happened. But what do
yeah,
they do? Rather than change their rhetoric, they continue to do the same stuff over and over again that got them unelected.
yeah, and that's why the Republican Party is going to implode, and they're gonna turn on each other and fracture and split into 2 groups because some Republicans wanna stay in office and they know that they can't win elections or, hold any kind of power with the cancer in their party.
That's right. Kevin Lewis is in the house. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin. All right. Got lots of questions here. I'm not gonna get into this one super detailed, but will Trump be sued by January 6th, please? I heard a yes as soon as I saw that.
Um,
I think they just ruled that said that they could sue him. There
I'm
was
sorry, say
some
again.
kind of filing. I think that there was some kind of filing to see if the police could go after Trump, and I think they just ruled that they could. So, do you feel like they're going to sue Trump?
I see lawsuits by people that
Hmm.
were injured
Yeah,
against Trump because he didn't do anything, and some of those would be police officers.
yeah,
Uh, and as a result of what happened on January 6th, I see legislation happening that if somebody sponsors an insurrection, it can make them responsible for injuries and sets them up for civil and criminal liability. So
yeah,
that's what my guides show me coming.
yeah. I agree, Mo. All right, let's see.
Somebody says to Satan is the little man with a big head.
Do you feel Musk selling Twitter?
Well, the answer is who'd want to buy it after he runs it in the ground?
Exactly. I
I
almost
don't
feel
see
like
him
Twitter's
holding on
going
to it.
belly up.
I don't see him holding on to it long at all.
I agree with that. I feel like he actually will sell it, but he's going to lose a crap ton of money because of it. He's gonna have to sell it very low. All right.
Oh, I just read something interesting. Can I share it?
Yeah, of course.
Travels. It says, yeah, after the Super Bowl, when they asked you guys where they were going to go, they said Disneyland and not Disney World. So it's already starting the tourism going bit by bit. So, in other words, a lot of people might be protesting Disney World and going to other Disney venues because of what Satan is doing.
Yeah, that's very true too.
That was
I know
announced.
some people were asking too if I felt like Disney was going to have to leave Florida, and I felt like no, they're staying in Florida.
They've got too much invested, but I want to tell you something.
Mhm.
If they did leave Florida, Florida would be hurting.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, just Satan should be kissing their rear end at State and Madison at high noon.
right. Do you feel the Fox News hosts will be required to admit their lies on their shows as part of judgment if found guilty?
They're never gonna admit that they're guilty. It's not gonna happen
Yeah.
because that would set them up for liability. Not gonna happen.
Mm, all right. This is an interesting one. Spirit Beyond the Stars says, well, the other 44 states in the United States put a law in against brides because here in the United States, 44 states have a law in place that it's legal for child brides. I hadn't heard that.
I see legislation being passed in the federal government saying that, you know, that you have to be a certain age for the federal government to recognize a marriage.
Okay.
Now, the states can do what they want, but the federal government might say you have to be 18 before we recognize the marriage.
Mm. Yeah, and
But
that's what makes it tricky too, is because of all the state governments allowing certain stuff for their states too. So yeah, I would think that you'd almost have to have some kind of federal guideline or legislation put in to stop that. I feel like it's going to get better, but unfortunately I think it's going to take some time still.
I think I do see a lot of states passing legislation to
Hmm.
say you have to be a certain age to be married, even with the consent of your parents.
Yeah.
So, my grandmother came from the hills of Kentucky and she was married at 13. Go
Oh
figure.
wow.
But my grandmother was born in 1902. And
Yeah.
so we're talking about, you know, o- over 100 years ago. So,
Yeah, there's a whole different time back then too. Not
right.
to say that it's
But I guess my
appropriate
question,
to our standards today, but
have we
I mean
changed a
that was
lot? I don't
definitely
know.
yeah. Sweet Mimi, I'm gonna butcher that. I'm just gonna say Sweet Mimi. Kevin and Mel, do you see any good news for Puerto Rico? Thank you and love you guys.
Well, at some point, I see Puerto Rico becoming a state. It's
Yeah,
gonna take a while, and I also think of statehood for Washington, DC, but that's gonna take a while, and for Guam, and maybe for the US I'm not sorry, for the US Virgin Islands.
oh
Um,
nice.
so, um, I think there's gonna be a lot of hurricanes hitting, but this year, I think Puerto Rico
Mm.
will be spared.
Oh good, good, because that was what was coming through for me, and that was my kind of concern was just so much destruction from these hurricanes. They can't even get stuff cleaned up before they have another big storm. So I hope you're right on that one for this year. But yeah, I agree with you. I've been saying for a while, I've definitely felt Puerto Rico and DC becoming states. I think Puerto Rico first, but it's still quite a couple years out there.
Hi, Sharon Sipe, by the way. She's putting up ways to contact us, and Sharon
Sharon
always
Sharon,
does.
Sharon
So,
Stipe is amazing and so appreciated in our community.
yeah, she does a good job.
She does do a good job. Do you
Um,
see China and Russia rising up against tyranny? We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but um, what about China?
well, my guides tell me the same thing in China is going to happen ultimately that happened in the former Soviet Union. There's going to be a head of the Communist Party that comes up and says that, he's like Gorbachev did, that he's going to disband the Communist Party. And I
Mm,
see, like, but in Russia, they call it glasnost perestroika, it means openness. And I see that happening in China. And I think we're going to see the start of that within the next decade.
yeah, Yeah, it feels like Russia's is happening sooner, like this, like revolution kind of energy. Um, China feels like it's off there a little bit, like maybe like a decade. But I agree with you. I definitely feel that happening, and it's just so sad what's going on there now. With all the lockdowns because of the pandemic, and I really feel like a lot of food insecurity and just poverty with it. And at some point, people can only handle that so much before they rise up and um, make it more fair for everybody.
Well, I think, there's a lot of wealthy people in China, and probably
Hmm.
because of the Communist Party, but I think
Yeah,
now people can own condos and property. Some can. But anyway, I think the people are going to say, wait a minute, we want a way of life like that happens in the Western world.
yeah.
And so I think um, people are going to start standing up, and they're going to want
Mm,
their freedoms, and I can't blame them.
yeah. So yes, to both. It
Yeah.
feels like Russia first to me, and then China. Um, you know, like a decade out, 8 to 10 years. I'm feeling. I'm not going to get into this one too much because there's only so much that you can say on YouTube without going into YouTube jail or getting
Well,
in
more
trouble.
Jill.
So yeah, I've brought this up before. All I'll say is it doesn't resonate that um, DeSantis won Florida by 20 points. That's all I'm going to say with that.
Well, I still think, though, if the Democrats had had a stronger candidate other than Charlie Crist, who had been a governor, he was a Republican, he
Hmm.
turned Democrat. And I think the Democrats thought that would bring them votes. But, a lot of the people, the Republicans that would have voted a little bit differently, maybe, were mad and they wouldn't have
Yeah.
voted for Charlie Crist. I think so. The Democrats, I think if they had somebody up there that was more charismatic and more fiery, then
Mm,
that candidate could have easily taken Florida with a lot of votes, even if cheating was going on.
yeah. And that is just for entertainment purposes only. So
Well, I didn't say it
thanks
was
for
or it
letting me.
wasn't. I just said,
I was saying for on my part of what I said was for
I
entertainment
know, I
purposes
got you.
only.
Um,
All right. What just happened? I just felt like I had a bunch of stars. All right. No middle name says I would love to see a drag queen smackdown MTG while in heels.
hey,
Good
drag
comment to
queen has a
start.
lot more fashion sense than MTG could ever have.
Right,
I'm
right.
still traumatized about that white outfit. Oh my God. The Ice Queen.
Mm.
Oh, she looked like a good humor person. Remember the good humor man? He would wear all white. Ice cream man.
No, but I agree with you. I love the ice queen term with that big white jacket.
Oh, it was like fashion police should have arrested her. Man, where were they
Right,
that night? But
right, right.
no middle name. I love that comment.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Cindy P says a judge ruled Representative Scott Perry's phone records are not privileged. Will he go to jail due to his election lies and January 6th involvement? Well, I see them getting the phone records for sure. I'm sure he's probably trying to appeal it, but
Oh, he'll
I
probably
see,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I see him appealing it, but the DOJ getting the records. And I've always felt like he's one of the ones that really kind of go down for his involvement.
Um, he might even take it to the Supreme Court, but I think they'd probably refuse to hear it.
Yeah,
I do see indictments against Perry. Um, you know, you can go to jail for obstruction of justice if you lie to Congress, and they'll have enough goods on them to get indictment. The answer is I see indictments.
I see indictments too. Do you ever see a time and place where money is ever banned in the U.S. politics?
No.
No.
What I do
I
see,
feel like a lot of regulations, though.
what I do see
Hmm.
is they're going to stop allowing these big companies to buy elections and limit how
Yeah.
much they can donate to a candidate because a lot of times I think they see these big corporations as an entity, as a person almost.
Right.
But I think they're going to limit how much corporations can donate, and that would stop them buying elections because a lot of
I
elections
agree.
are bought by large corporations,
Hmm.
and so is the
Yeah, and it's
jury.
almost like when they overturn that Citizens United, like that coming back. But it feels like more like regulations. They're not going to ever get money out of um, funding elections, but um, caps on what people can donate. And I see like big regulations on corporate um, donations to campaigns.
And my light bulb just went on. I think what's going to
Yeah.
happen is the government's going to say, if you get this amount of money, you have to be transparent. You can't,
Mm,
because
yeah.
now there's things they can hide behind. The government's going to say, you can't do that anymore. If you're going to donate
Yes.
this sum of money and you can only donate so much, you've got to say where it came from. And, not from Citizens United. And I think that they're going to ban organizations like that from
Mm.
donating huge chunks of money. And even the NRA is going to be banned from donating huge chunks of money to buy elections.
I see a big push after a lot of that dark money stuff is revealed that they really know that they have to change, money going into campaigns and into politicians.
Well, it's
I see a
funny.
big push after that.
It's funny if they win, they don't want to change. But if they
Right.
lose, it's like, oh, we got to change it.
Yes. All right. We've been on for almost an hour. We still have quite a bit of questions, so um, probably do a couple more. This one I got a no to. Do you see Putin taking his life? No, I do not.
No,
He's
he's
gotta watch out from behind his back. Somebody might be sneaking up on him and maybe giving him a big old push out a window, but I don't see him taking his own life.
let's hope it's not a first floor window.
Right. This is a good question. Reinhold says, "Will America someday learn to prevent food waste 40%?" I do see a big push um, to prevent food waste, and also, a lot of the grocery stores, if
Throw stuff out.
they throw stuff out, and they also they're so picky when they're putting the products together to send out to the stores. If something's like odd shaped or but there's nothing wrong with it, they'll throw it out too. So I definitely feel like a big push of stopping the food waste, and even donating food to people that need that extra help with the food. Um, before they throw it out. So I definitely see a lot of big strides, and it feels like actually, like in the next couple of years, big pushes to stop all the waste.
I think if these grocery stores, restaurants, stuff like that, the food they throw out, if they donated that to
Hmm.
help the poor, we wouldn't have a
Yeah,
hunger problem in this country.
I agree.
What I feel is there's going to be technologies that'll be able to recycle some of that food, maybe break it down into other things. I don't know.
Okay.
But I do see, I don't know how you can prevent, I don't see how you pass legislation to keep people from throwing out food. But
Mm,
I just see people becoming more conscious of it. And
yes,
I think I can see a point in time when our food waste might be maybe 1 or 2% as opposed to 40%.
I love that, and that's definitely a huge issue. I'm agreeing with you. It's not so much like something federally passed, but just like a public awareness of this and really kind of pushing for positive changes.
Here's what Reinhold he did. I just
Hmm.
took that up because this is very interesting actually.
Yeah, France
Um,
adopted a law on fighting food waste. That meant supermarkets were forbidden to destroy unsold food products and were compelled to donate it instead. I love that idea.
Now I can see legislation pass in the states here in the states to to do something like that, Reinhold. That I do see. And
Mm,
so thanks for sharing that. That was really
yes, thank you.
it was a good observation.
Sweetie darling Lulu says, does FBI Director Ray need to be fired?
I think it's too much of a political hotbed right now, but my guides tell me he will be fired or he'll be gone because I see a new
Mm.
director coming in.
Yeah, maybe it's even after the next election. It doesn't feel like it's right now. I've never really been a big fan of Christopher Wray. Do I feel like he's done things illegal? Not so much, but I definitely he definitely plays both sides of the fence, is what I feel. Um, you know, kind of overlooking things while Trump's in office, and then I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of his energy, but I don't think he's going to be in there for too long.
Oh, somebody said they're having a major deja vu with this whole show. Good,
Oh, really?
good thing. Anyway, all right.
Let's see. Oh, I don't think I said thank you to Julie, but she said she sent a super sticker earlier while we were talking. It says, "Love you, Kevin and Mel. I can't wait for the day when we don't see color of skin or care about who somebody loves. We are all we are the love the world needs. Love and light to all." Thank you for that message, and thank you so much for the super chat.
That will be the message for the month right there.
I love it.
Thank you, Julie. That was really cool. That was a really neat message.
Hmm. All right, let's get to a couple more questions. Do you think, I pulled this one. Will Atlanta get the Democratic convention? I feel like yes. I think they were thinking Atlanta, um, maybe New York and some other place, but Atlanta feels really good to me.
Well, they would probably do it in a purple state, eh,
Hmm.
or even a state that used to be red, uh, because it would put a lot of money in that state's pocket, and it would certainly help people in that state vote Democratic, I think.
Yeah.
So I got a feeling it's a yes. I could be
I
wrong, but
got a strong guess. Does anybody in the chat, can you just tell me where they're talking about having the Democratic convention? I thought it was Atlanta, New York, or somewhere else. If you can share it, it might make it easier, but I got a strong guess to Atlanta or Georgia.
I don't know who else is in the competition.
Connie B wants to know, do we get a feeling if Macy's going to go bankrupt? I felt yes when I read that, actually.
I don't know. I haven't looked at that. I really don't know the answer to that. But even if they go bankrupt, that doesn't mean they'll go out of business.
Mm. Yeah, it feels like kind of like a transition from. Um, I think we lost our Macy's a couple of years ago, so I definitely see a lot of store closings, but more of a push on the online market.
Well, I mean, they might go through a reorganization. I think it's a Chapter 11 for corporations. It's a form of
Hmm.
bankruptcy, but I don't see them going away.
Yeah.
Atlanta,
The
Chicago, or New
city,
York.
I feel Atlanta.
Damn, I wish it was Chicago. Not that I'm biased or anything.
Right.
By the way, Lightfoot's not going to be mayor anymore. We've got a runoff coming.
Yeah, I saw that. And is it a is it two Democrats running for that? Because I feel like one
Well,
of them is kind of conservative and saying that they're a
Zeller
Democrat.
says he's a Democrat, but I think he's more leaning
Conservative.
Republican.
Yeah.
He
I feel like the other one's going to win.
he sat on some kind of committee or something that was anti-LGBTQ, and so I'm
Mm.
like, whoa. The other one, I can't think of his name, but he's African American, and
Mm.
I got a funny feeling he's going to win. I could be wrong, but I think he'll win.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like there was one that was kind of definitely a little bit more conservative.
That's
Um,
Vallis. That's
yeah,
Vallis.
I didn't feel like he was going to win, and I don't think Chicago would vote for somebody like that. I think they kind of see through his act. I
Well,
was kind of surprised that that Littlefoot is that what her name was?
Light,
Littlefoot,
Lightfoot,
Lightfoot.
Lightfoot.
Um, like I kind of was feeling like she was going to win, so I got that one wrong. But um,
Well, with Vallis, he tried to run for governor. He didn't get anywhere. But the bottom
Mm,
line is, I think, he's talking about, and I support our police departments. There are some bad cops and there are good cops. There are a lot of good cops. But he's talking about,
mhm.
cracking down on crime in the city, which we sorely need to do.
Yeah,
And he's talking about supporting the police department and this and that. And because Chicago's gotten so much attention and there's an increase in gun violence, I think that's why people voted for him uh, in the primary.
okay.
Um, and the opponent is thinking more like training cops to realize mental illness, and maybe having social workers intervene, and having the cops fight crime.
Mm,
So I see both sides of the coin on that, but I
right.
can see why Vallis got the votes that he did.
Yeah,
I think Johnson, I think the opponent is Johnson, if I'm not mistaken. I think he better go out and do some campaigning. I mean, he'll clearly get the African American vote, and I think
right,
he'll probably
right.
get a lot of the Hispanic vote. Uh, but you know, I can see how Vallis um, was way up there in the primary. I get it.
Okay.
But he's talking about charter schools. He's talking about the. I mean, I don't know. But I think more importantly, it was, saying I'm going to do something about the gun violence in the city.
Right. And that being such a, and I don't think it's just Chicago too. A lot of cities. I think since the pandemic, there's really kind of been a spike in some crimes. Let's say if they weren't there before, but a lot of people really nervous about that and worried about their safety. So, but it's also kind of playing on people's fears too.
I'm not afraid to go downtown at all. I feel safe when I'm
Hmm.
in downtown Chicago. There's certain neighborhoods you don't want to go into, but
Right.
you know, um, as far as you know, going downtown, I've never been afraid of that.
All right, you guys. We got a couple questions here. We're going to go through quickly, if that's okay with you, Mel.
That's fine.
All right. So we're not taking any more questions, but Dan Bark says, "When will Moscow Mitch leave office? He's too old and corrupt." I feel like he's gonna. Did he just get elected in? I think in 2022. So he would be up in 2028. I feel like he might retire early, is what I'm feeling. But I don't
Well,
feel good about his health either.
he said that if the Democrats took over the Senate, he'd quit. But obviously, he ain't quit. So
Right.
once again, he didn't tell the truth.
Yeah, I don't get good vibes about his health, and I feel like he'll step down before his term's up. I'm not sure when. I don't think it's this year. Maybe after 2024, after that election. I'm not entirely sure. So
This is going to be his last hurrah.
yes, yes, I agree.
Sorry about that. I had
We
to.
love your Mitch
I
McConnell
had to
voice.
do Mitch. It's a bad imitation of Mitch, but it's and I got the turkey chin and all.
Um, how does John McCain feel about the Republican Party now? He's not
Is
happy
turning
with the
over in his grave.
infuriating. Yeah,
He's really angry about it.
I just heard traitors too, so I feel like he feels like this party's a bunch of traitors bought
Well,
by Russia, and he's a was he was he captured in Vietnam? Was he a
yes,
Vietnam War vet?
he
So
was
I
he was in a prisoner of war camp, I think, in
yeah,
Saigon.
okay,
Yeah, he was a hero actually, but he was a prisoner of war. But my guys are telling me that he's hopping mad about what's going on in the Republican Party, and he's saying that's not the party that he represented.
hmm,
But I think Spirit's going to be working to, open everybody's eyes about the racism, the bigotry, and all that stuff that's going on in a certain faction of the Republican Party. John
I
McCain
agree.
was not totally about that at all.
Hmm. Well,
I
and
mean,
you think about it too, the people of Arizona who love John McCain, Arizona was really, not super competitive like it is now, in purple. But I think because of the way that John McCain was treated by Trump and his legacy and people knowing what he stands for, we've definitely seen a shift in that state because of the Trumpism coming in and people not liking it there.
I think somebody just said that Rose Blue said that he was in the Hanoi Hilton. They called it the Hanoi Hilton, but it was a prisoner of war uh,
Mm.
camp for uh, for Americans that have been captured.
And I just got a hit on McCain. He was close friends with Lindsey Graham when he was alive, but he's just so disappointed in the person that he's become and just being so corrupted by power and greed. Um, but Lindsey Graham was kind of coming through with kind of just tapping into John McCain.
John
Um,
McCain is totally angry at Lindsey Graham and doesn't approve
mhm.
of his behavior whatsoever.
Yeah, just ashamed. And I heard him call them traitors. Traitors is what I just heard.
He's telling me that at some point integrity will be brought back to the Republican Party, but it's going to take a while.
It'll take a little while. Yeah. Do you feel Barbara Lee of California will win the Senate seat? She just announced, and we have Katie Porter and Adam Schiff. I think
I,
we've read on it before.
I feel Adam Schiff is going to win. I could be wrong, but I think Adam's going to win.
Yeah, I'm not really feeling it for Barbara Lee. Um, I feel like it's going to be Adam Schiff, but I feel like at some point Katie Porter will be a senator in the state too. Um, but she's still pretty new, and I think she's wonderful. But as she kind of gets up in the ranks, Adam Schiff's really um, done a lot, and Barbara Lee has too. But I'm feeling energy around Adam Schiff right now.
I like Katie Porter. I want her to win, but I got a feeling Schiff will.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I really like
like
Katie
Kevin, at
Porter.
some point, I do think that Katie Porter would end up being a senator. It's just a while down the road.
Yeah, could be. All right, so I kind of heard about this, but not really. But um, China's buying farmland, I think in Missouri, but also in the all over the United States. Why are they buying it, and is it even legal? I do feel like it's illegal, but I kind of feel like the government kind of coming in and kind of putting a stop to it or putting
It,
regulations in with it.
it is legal,
Hmm.
but I think they're buying farmland so they can grow crops and then sell them back to us and raise the price and
No,
and so they can control then the dollar and they can make it inflation and they can help to control elections that way.
okay.
I remember back when I was in college. I first went to college in 1972, and I had a professor, Dr. Albert Laird. And at that time, I think, was it Japan or a foreign country was trying to buy property in the United States. And he was very liberal minded, but he was totally against it because he
Mm,
said foreign governments should not buy land in the United States because at some point, if we allow that, then they're going to end up controlling the United States. And I
mm,
just resonated with me what he said. And he also made a comment that was really prophetic that he said um, that with the education system, where it was even in 1972, that we were creating a nation of mediocrity. And our
mm.
education system has gone way down. And he was right about that as well.
Yeah,
I do see legislation passed that would limit how much a foreign government how much land they can buy here. I see federal legislation passed.
yes, me too.
So it was, I mean, the
Um,
stuff the man said was pretty prophetic, and I just had to bring that up because it brought back a memory.
mm, right. I think we're going to end on this one I just saw. Reinhold wants to know if Feinstein will leave before her next election. She's up in 2024. Um, Porter, Schiff, and Lee are running for her seat. Um, I just heard that somebody I think just posted in earlier that she was hospitalized, which I hadn't heard. So I could be wrong on that. Like I said, I haven't heard it, but I
If
kind of
Dianne
felt like she was
Feinstein,
going to stick in there till the next election. Is what I'm feeling.
if Dianne Feinstein leaves before the next election, it's because of her demise, because of illness.
Yeah,
I think she's going to hang in there. But you know, I mean, she's losing a little. She's losing it a little, but you know,
yeah.
she's done a phenomenal job in the course of her career.
Mm,
And uh, in German, it's pronounced Feinstein.
mm.
Uh,
Yeah, I agree with you, Mel. I do feel like the health is a little bit. Um, I think the memory kind of slipping a little bit too, which they've been reporting on. Um, but I think she's going to hold it out. I think she's going to hang in there until her turn's up. She'll get really close to it anyway.
how old is she? I don't even know. She's up there, I think.
She's up there. I'm not sure.
Oh, Rose
I'm
both
sure
Balthazar said she has shingles, I think.
oh, she has shingles right now. Okay. Yeah, because I didn't feel like she's leaving right now.
Um, I think she's going to hang in there for a bit.
I do too. It's resonating more with me that she'll stay until the end of her term.
That's what I
I
think.
think there's a possibility, and if it is, it'll be towards the end of the term. But all right, you guys. Well, we've been on for about an hour and 15 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I think at one point, we had almost 500 people watching. So if you haven't already, please hit the thumbs up. It really helps us get this video out there on YouTube, help spread this message out there. Please subscribe to my channel and to go over to Mel's channel and subscribe if you haven't already. Once I hit 7,000 subscribers, we'll be giving away a free reading and a free Reiki session. So help me get to that next goal. And where are you at with your subscribers, Mel? Are you at 17,000?
No, I'm past 18,000. So when I get to
Oh, nice.
19,000, I'll give away 3 free half-hour sessions. But I just want to say that when I give away the session, the person that I give it to, it's non-transferable. It's just for the person that wins.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but so yeah, I'm almost at, when I get to 19, I'll give away 3 free half-hour sessions. When I get to 20,000, I think I'll have a 20,000 party.
Yes. You're going to have to. And I think before you were saying giving away some Aloha shirts.
Aloha shirts, yep.
Yes. Love that.
And I promise they won't be worn. Okay, they'll be somebody said that Linda G said that Dianne Feinstein was 89.
Okay. Yeah. She's definitely getting up there.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. Lisa said I'm an awesome reader. So is Kevin.
Thank you. So if people want to get a hold of you for a reading, Mel, how do they do that?
They can call my office at 847-590-5411. Again, 847-590-5411. Or they can email me, Mel, M-E-L, at Meldoer, MELDOERR.com. Mel at Meldoer.com. Or
Perfect.
www.meldoer.com. There's 2
And
ways.
I think I have both in the description box of this video. Are you still you're still taking you still have openings for the Italy trip, correct?
We'll have openings for the Italy trip. And I just got a trip September the 6th in 2024. That's
Mm,
a year and
yeah,
however long away.
year and a half.
It starts in Amsterdam, and it's going to be a river tour going. It starts in Amsterdam down the Rhine River all the way through Germany, stopping in Strasbourg, France, and then ending up in Switzerland. And
Oh,
I've done
fun.
this tour. I've done this trip before, and it's amazing. It really is a fun trip, and I've got room for a lot of people on that one. And if they book that tour between now and May 31st of this year, it's free airfare from anywhere within the continental United States. So,
Oh, nice. So
yep.
something to think about.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a really neat trip. So, I mean, all
Yeah,
of my
it sounds
trips
like
are
a fun
fun.
trip.
And then I'm trying to get one to go on the Mekong River. So it'll be Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam. And so
Mm.
I'm working on it.
fun. You're a busy guy. You got a lot of stuff in the works. A lot of fun
Well,
trips and all.
if I get 15 or more people, I get a free trip, and all the trips are
Mm,
contingent on 15 or more people. And so, that's how I get to travel. And it's
yeah.
and plus I enjoy meeting people. And
Mm-hmm.
so, my job on the trips is to make sure that everybody has the absolute best time of their life.
Mm-hmm.
That's my job.
Love that.
So,
All right, you guys. And if anybody'd like to get a hold of for me to give them a reading or a Reiki session, you can do so by texting me at 440-376-4088, 440-376-4088, or send me an email at um, kevinlovingvibrations@gmail.com. All the info for me and Mel are in the description box.
somebody asked about the gorillas. Yeah, that trip is sold out. So,
Yeah,
anyway,
nice.
yeah, everybody get a reading from Kevin. He's amazing. And
Oh, thank you.
I'm sure that you're doing wonderful with your Reiki. I'm gonna have to book a virtual session with you for that, Kevin.
Yes. Yeah, it's been really exciting since getting my Reiki master and just kind of putting some of that time and creative energy into putting a class together and getting all of that stuff in the works. So I'm really excited to start teaching and doing that. So um, next week, Tuesday, I'll be on and my Tarot Tuesday. I have Jane the Seeker coming on Wednesday to do personal readings. Next Thursday, I'm on your channel, Mel.
On my channel. I think we'll go
Uh,
live next Thursday, Kevin. If you'll help me with it
oh,
beforehand, then we'll do it
yeah,
live.
of course. And then Linda G is going to be on next Friday. So I got a lot of shows next week to make sure to check them
Yay!
out. All right, you guys.
I'm gonna watch you and Linda G. I'll be in the sideline making comments.
That's all right. All right, you guys. Well, we will see you all next week, and we're sending you a lot of love. Thank you, Mel. It's always fun
Thank you.
um, doing our shows together. I always enjoy it.
I
So,
totally enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
yeah. All right, everyone. Have a great night.
Bye,
Take
everybody.
care.
Aloha.